Well, it's really interesting because a lot of people think about free energy and so many different things come to mind. I think usually when people hear the word free energy, they're thinking about new technology devices.
Yeah.
So people that work in this field called, you know, free energy or new technology or scalar resonance. There's so many different names. So, you know, I don't want to just talk about like the technologies as far as like all these inventors, although that's fun, I've done that before. And the other thing is, yeah, I'm going to talk about some of that stuff, but I want to make sure that this is not just a one-way conversation. So I noticed that there's a good flow when everybody just shares kind of what comes up for them. And so I know this presentation is supposed to be about that, about like the joining and the flow. And I figure what usually happens is whatever needs to be said will be said, and it just works out. So I've got a whole bunch of cool images in no particular order at all. But this particular image here, if you guys can see that, what this is this is one of the sacred symbols. This is one of the universal symbols that we're recognizing as our instruments get better, telescopes get better, electron tunneling microscopes get better, and the more we learn about the universe, we're starting to see that everything, every object in the universe has a field. Whether it be, you know, it could be a quark, it could be a cell, a heart, a human body, a planet, a nebula, a galaxy, the universe itself. Every single object that we know about has this amazing field around it. And this field incorporates all these different types of geometry. I find it really, this is really cool because you said something about the flow. You were talking about the flow when you said something there earlier, and also the shadow. So you're reading something there about the shadow? Okay, so
no,
no, I just mentioned the shadow.
Okay, but didn't that say something?
Oh.
You said something about the shadow?
Yes.
Okay, so these are the two terms that have come up, is the flow and the shadow. And I think these are the two things that really are, it's no coincidence they came up. Because the shadow is that which we think that we're not, that what we don't have access to because we think we're separate from something. So the shadow, like Carl Jung would call the shadow that which we think is not us, that which we deny and don't own, right? And so we block ourselves off from so much energy by denying and by judging and by pretending that we're separate. So that's like the shadow. The shadow itself plays a big aspect in this idea of free energy. Because free energy, what I'm talking about is access to the source field. So everything can have access, or naturally does have access to the source field. But it's when the blocks get in the way that we don't. It's when the shadow comes in that we don't have access. There was a time in our civilization long ago where this idea of free energy, nobody even talked about it because obviously it was so natural. You can see some of these ancient civilizations, some of the technology that is revealed in some of their archaeological sites shows that they knew about these fields. And this was natural and normal. In an other age, it's been said by many cultures that we were in this age of enlightenment. And it was also called, it was also associated with the feminine. So it was actually a more balanced age, this time of Atlantis, which is, you know, metaphorical, and it's actually, there's a lot of evidence for that as well. So the flow is natural, and somehow in this age of darkness, of descending, so this time we're living in now has been called the age of darkness. So in many civilizations predicted the fall of Atlantis, the descent into darkness, the descent into the fourth dimension. And it's been talked by the Mayans, by the Vedic calendar, the Chinese calendar, all these calendars all over the world. It's been talked about. So this age of forgetting, or the dark age, is like a time when we believe that we don't have access to the source. Somehow we've tricked ourselves, or we've convinced ourselves that we are not one with all, so that we're separate. And of course that's an illusion. So the idea of free energy is to come back into the realization that we are one with all, that everything is part of a big grand cycle, everything has its own destiny. And when this idea of fear and doubt and scarcity comes up, well, that's like our shadow. And it's only, and Carl Jung said our shadow is where our treasure is. Of course, like, if we're blocking this whole part of ourselves because we don't want to be one, we want to be separate, then yeah, we're blocked off and we have this big thing called the shadow. And the treasure is there. So it's a matter of not being controlled by illusion, not being controlled by fear, and that puts us into the Isle of Silk, Serendvipa, which is Sanskrit, is translated Isle of Silk, and Serendvipa is where serendipity comes from, the word serendipity. So when you're in that place that's been called the fifth dimension or fourth density, there's a lot of names for it, we're in the Isle of Silk, which means we're in the moment, we're in tune with our fear, it doesn't control us, and we get centered. So when we're centered, we suddenly have access to infinite energy. And that's exactly what this is. This is an example, and if you look at this image, you can feel this. So all of this energy is available to us if we're just in the moment. And this is, when you look at this toroidal field, I don't know if you can see, can you guys see that there's a torus?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the toroidal field is one of the most universal fields that's known in sacred geometry. The flower of life shows the toroidal field. The toroidal field fits in with this whole Fibonacci spiral. That filamentary DNA-looking spiral that comes up and out it's a feeding mechanism. It's part of the flux field of the exchange of energy. So this exchange is an important part of being in that field of free energy. Any comments so far?
Well, just one of the things that just struck me is that the body, I mean, not just the toroidal field, but
Yeah.
the actual body is like a donut.
Yeah.
Because even inside your throat, inside your lungs, inside your stomach, that's still the outside of your body.
Right.
Because anywhere blood shouldn't be
Right.
is the outside of your body. So you're actually like
Right.
a donut,
Right.
all the way through your body.
Right. That's interesting. So there's so many layers here.
It's important to know about that.
So I don't know if anybody's seen pictures of the human heart under an EEG or like a field, it's a camera that takes pictures of electromagnetic fields. So if you've seen this, we've seen the sun. Stanford has taken some pretty amazing photos of, like their photos, they're not using visible light, they're like using other energy fields, biophoton fields, electromagnetic fields, and you can see the human heart looks like this as well. So the human heart is pumping all this blood around our bodies, and inside the blood vessel we have a spiral flow. And for so long they talked about the human heart as, you know, the human heart has so much power that it can pump with the pressure equivalent to a Mack truck engine. And that's what they used to say. But that was only based on the idea that it had to be pushing through the blood vessel. But if you looked at it logically, the blood vessel would explode if you were to put that much pressure under it. So it doesn't work like that. The blood flows in a spiral in our veins and arteries, and that spiral is flowing in that sacred field called the phi ratio, the golden mean, the Fibonacci sequence. But there's so many different names for it. So you can see that field, all the blood is creating that field. The heart creates this toroidal field. So it's really quite interesting.
It's awesome. And if you look at blood, actually under a microscope, the actual blood cell has that shape.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Like, what's that called?
shape.
Hemoglobin cells?
Has that shape.
So if you look at even the
And
blood
the universe
cells,
has that shape. If you look at the universe, the whole thing, they say it has that shape.
it does have that shape. It's
It
even
does.
with Hubble Space Telescope, we're starting to see the geometry.
It's all the same thing on a different scale.
That's right.
From the minus.
Exactly right.
And we actually only, from where we are in our galaxy, see 4% of it. We don't see 96% of it. 96% of it is defined as black matter. And that's about the same percentage scale that we function on our brain. They say we only use 4%, and 96% of it's all black matter.
Well, not like that.
Well, yeah. See, this is what's interesting.
That's what they say, not what I say.
Yeah, and I think that we only use 10% of our brain, and the rest is just like, we can't use it or whatever. Just like the universe, like all this missing, they call it dark energy. It's only called dark because we don't have the tools to see it. Or at least we've been looking in the wrong way.
So that's our shadow.
So that's our shadow.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
inherited.
It's also our unconscious. There's so many ways of, it's funny when we look at the universe and we look out and everything's so black and all we see is these little white dots. But on the inverse, if we were really to be in tune, we would see light everywhere, I think.
Is dark energy and dark matter the same?
They're different. And I don't know specifically what different things are called, but
It's just what we cannot perceive, both of them?
well, they're saying that 98%, when they look at the Milky Way galaxy and they do all the equations to figure out how the energy that they see in the Milky Way, the normal equations don't compute to
They
that.
only see 4% of it. 96% of it, they don't see.
That's why they call it missing. And so the
Black,
missing
yeah.
energy,
Black,
yeah. So like if you look at the Milky Way, the way it flows, there's all this energy causing it to spin. So there's this massive spin. If you look at the energy that's required in order to create that spin, it's not accounted for in normal quantum physics. Normal quantum physics. But then quantum physics started creating these shadows, like dark matter, like
But Nassim Bridge does
Oh,
over
that's-
that,
these
he
are-
put the torque.
yeah, they call them nasty infinities, all of these things, right? And so Nassim Haramein, he's somebody who helped to fix that problem by looking at the Einstein field equations, and he solved the Einstein field equations, right? Because he added this the torsion field or the spin. So all of these equations that we were using to figure out all the energy in the galaxy that wasn't accounted for was because we were inside of the galaxy. You have to step outside of it, and then you see it spinning. And then, as a separate observer, then you can account for it. So I know Nassim did some work on it there, too.
And we're still, I guess, the other part of shadows, or the part of the shadow side that we're all talking about is, in the scientific realm, that they still operate with the notion of gravity being the main power, whereas the new paradigm is the electrical universe, right?
Right. Well,
which the gravity mindset doesn't get.
well, that's exactly right. And so when you look at, that opens up a whole bunch of information here. Our hearts, you can see our heart field, is a fractal subset of the galaxy. When we go to the next fractal level, which would be the Earth energy field, it has the same toroidal field the Earth does.
Wet your whistle.
Oh no, I've got coffee there.
Oh, okay. I'll take it to make sure.
Thanks.
it's pretty long. It's
So what were we talking about here? Yeah, fractals. So we're all like fractal sets, right? So our heart is a fractal set of the Earth, which is a fractal set of the Sun. The Sun is a fractal set of the Milky Way galaxy. Now, what I say fractal set, we're basically receiving our energy through this fractal level. The electrical universe is a new type of science that's explaining in a lot better ways how the sun works, why comets leave spiral trails, why you see these webs of information connected to each other. Okay, there's something called the electrical universe. So the electrical universe explains that our sun is actually like a transistor. Our sun gets its energy not from this the old model used to say it was a nuclear furnace, but none of the observed phenomenon with the SOHO space observatories or any of this new information that they're seeing doesn't fit into this old theory called the nuclear furnace. So the whole theory is falling apart. Like, it's already fallen apart, but you see mainstream science is still trying to backpedal and try and make up these super complex equations to account for the mistakes. But if you look at the new theory called the electrical universe theory, it shows that the sun is actually colder on the inside. And the sun's geometry is very specific. And that geometry, the way it changes, affects our hearts. So when you have these great solar maximum happening on the sun, you can see that our heart is affected by that too, because our heart is a field that's connected to the field. If you have a big magnet and you put something near the magnet, that magnetic field is fractally represented in the things that are next to it. It's the same thing, of course, with the sun and with the galaxy.
Dad?
Yeah.
There's something that I want to share if I can
Yeah,
find
please,
the words
please,
for it.
please share, yes.
Yeah, what I'm feeling is that at some point, we're all going to become, we're moving there, we're all going to become expanded, space. And from that point, where we're on the other side, you know, in the Course in Miracles, we're on the side where we know we're one with Jesus, sort of thing, that one.
Yeah.
I think that we will understand it, and that all of this moves to point us in the direction we need to go in the divine. Like it's all divine talk and pointing to, as you open and open and open and go more into the mystery, there's nothing there except the all. So for someone like myself who hasn't got a chance of understanding any of this,
Right.
there's a way of being it,
Right.
so that it moves through me,
Yes.
as everything does.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just
That's
wanted
right.
to add that, so that
That's right. So this is interesting because I'm talking about the whole material level of how this is manifested, but all the material level is simply a reflection of what's going on inside of ourselves. So it's really interesting to see that people that are of the new energy physics are noticing that the weather changes, the earth changes, the way that what things happen on the sun is affected by the collective consciousness of the human grid. So somehow our energy fields are affecting the larger energy fields. So when we are tuned in, the organism responds, which is the community, and so does the earth. And when you see people doing these group meditations, they're tuning in and being one with, to have compassion for and empathy for others is a way to be at one with. And being at one with brings you incredible amounts of energy. And you will definitely feel this field. When you see this, you're like, I can start to feel that. And there's certainly, you can even imagine at your core level, the core star, the lots of different names for this gut where the core star is. So there's different centers in our body, but there's one center right down here at the abdomen level. But when you breathe in, you can feel the flow moving up and then coming down as you breathe out. So you can actually feel that toroidal field happening. And when you tune into that field, then you're a magnet. And you're aligning your magnet. It's all about alignment. You can be out of alignment in illusion, and it manifests as real. But when you're tuned in into that alignment, you can see everybody else is starting to reflect that as well. So when we all do that, the sun and the weather is all part of this. The earth, the way that it moves and flows, we're not separate from that. So when we own our own field, our own energy, then we'll notice that the outside universe reflects what we're experiencing. In other words, the earth is responding to our needs. And so does the sun. And so now in the electrical universe model, they do talk about the sun as being a fractal set, as responding to the needs of the system. So the sun's geometry allows it to tap into the greater source field, which is the galaxy. But we can certainly tap into the galactic field as well, just through types of meditation. And there's technology tools that we have now, Like, has anybody ever used the heart math instrument?
Hey,
Yeah, you've used that. So it's like this little device, and Anne has it. It's a little device that plugs into your computer, and you put it on your ear or you put it on your finger, and you can actually see the way that your heart is beating. And so for most people in the society, we've got so tuned out with materialism, the industrial civilization, that we've forgotten, and so our heart is out of phase. It's out of balance. When we tune back into this energy field, it puts our heart back in balance, and we can see it happening with this computer instrument called the EM wave. That's what the heart math calls it. But there's brain gear as well, that way we can look at a computer screen and we can see the way our heart is responding to our thoughts. So when we have peaceful thoughts and we're calm, we can actually see our heart rate go back into a very, what's called coherent, natural flow. So then it ends up being in tune with nature, or with the sun, or with the earth. Being in tune is also called sympathetic resonance, sympathetic vibration. And that coherence, you can attain it through thought, through breathing, through meditation. So it's really remarkable to see. This is not just theory. This is something you can actually see. And you do, and that's why the new technologies that are coming out of the internet are revealing to us the power of our intentions, the power of our thoughts.
See,
Yeah.
you too, I believe, are actually talking about the exact same thing. But he's talking about the here now, and you're talking about what is to come. And he's telling you that what is to come is here now. And the choice is yours. It's just perception.
I'm lost, sorry.
And these are the tools to find here now, right? Now what is over there? Because you're not living here now then, right? You're worried about over there, and it will come when it's over there.
Right.
But it's here now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I know you're
I know,
talking
but
to me, but I'm
I
not
know.
getting it.
I understand. I totally understand, right? And
I don't think
this
he's
is
directing
just
that
a
at you at all.
map. This is a map. This is a map how to understand and define here now and what it means to you, because the ultimate answer to the riddle, to the question, is the answer you give onto yourself.
I don't know what the riddle is. I'm
So anyway, I know what you're talking about.
I know you do.
Okay, well, like if you're thinking about the past or the future, then you're not here. It's like you're blocking yourself off from what's actually present, which is everything, which is the universe, which is infinite, which is the source field, which is nature, one with everything. When you're worried about the past or the future, you know, why are you worried about the past or the future? Well, that's your shadow. You're avoiding something by being worried, and so when
And what are you worried about? What are you prepping for? Your death.
death,
Which is the beginning of the new, right? And
See,
that's
I
where
don't
we're in a
understand.
new age in time.
Do you know, I
right?
don't know if it's relevant, but I don't understand what you're talking about, to me. I
Well,
mean, why me?
I'm talking about myself, and
But
so
I
are
don't-
you.
No, but I don't, it doesn't matter. I don't know what you're saying.
You don't have to
Yes.
say anything.
if you don't have the device for the heart coherence,
Yes.
they're now teaching a breathing, certain breathing
Right.
that takes 5 minutes, and
Yes.
it brings heart coherence for the next 3-4 hours.
Right,
Unless you
yes.
hit a big hurdle.
yes,
And that lengthen our life.
yes,
If we're into hanging
Yes.
out on this planet.
yeah, that's right.
So we don't even need the device. It's nice
We don't
to have
need the device.
because then we see
Well, that's
the
right.
proof, but we feel the proof. I've gotten the.
Well, it's
the
like
breathing.
it's like medicine.
Yeah, it is medicine.
Yeah, so a medicine ultimately is a tool, and ultimately any good tool will have to render itself obsolete, so you don't need the medicine. So the tool, there's a lot of tools. This heart math tool,
Yeah.
you don't really need it. It's just showing you a reflection of yourself, and you're like, oh my God, that's me. So then you become responsible for your own, you can maintain your own energy field by seeing the reflection.
Your egg.
So, so now that we're in this accelerated age, they call it Age of Awakening, Age of Pisces, we are seeing, it's also called like age of transparency. In other words, what we're putting out there, what do you call it?
What happened to the Aquarius, the age of Aquarius?
Well, the age of what happened to the age of Aquarius?
I mean, that's the song. The Age
Oh
of
yeah,
Aquarius.
well the age of Aquarius, because where the precessional cycle, you know,
Oh.
is moving backwards from normal. Like, you know how the whole cycles go with all of the signs?
Yeah.
So we were in the age of Pisces,
That's right.
but what comes before Pisces is Aquarius.
Yeah.
Right.
So
When
it's
did
not,
that change?
what's this?
When did it go from
It,
Aquarius
it,
to
well,
Pisces?
it goes right now. When it's happening now. Like, because the way that where the center of the Milky Way lines up is always in a different sign.
Because what's happened is that we've gone through all 12 houses. It takes, I believe, like...
It's 26,000.
Yeah,
26,000.
to go all through 12 houses, right? And that's why the Aztec says this is the beginning of a new age in time, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of Christians used to refer to this day and age as the age of evil, because it is the beginning of a new, right? It is the death of an old and the beginning of a new, right?
Right, there's many different
Yeah.
words for it, but this time has been associated with apocalypse.
Yeah.
Apocalypse, which means that which was hidden is now revealed.
Revealed, yeah.
And that's the meaning of that word.
And this
So,
is-
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, this is good because it's a discussion here, but it's quite interesting to see that everything is aligning up on every level. The age of transparency, the internet affords this transparency. Our shadows are being revealed because people are able to say stuff anonymously, and not only that, everybody's got cameras now, and now we have these devices that can measure you can point at somebody, look at their biophoton field, and know what they're feeling. We already have these technologies, we've forgotten them though. The internet is showing us these technologies that we already have. And so it's bringing us back to remembering that we already are transparent. Everything's already seen. So it means that we can't hide, which is good, because it accelerates everything into this awakening point where all those shadow bubbles are popping on the surface, and it's like, oh my God, it's there. Oh my God, I just puked. And then everybody can see it, and it's like, okay, this is good.
Pie.
What?
You puke pie.
Yeah, you puke pie. That's
Do you know,
anyway,
Pun
there-
intended.
yeah, pun intended.
I don't know who heard it, but this morning I heard that there's a movement towards silence, because there's places where you go and they give you silence. And there's a strong movement. And I figure that's also from the internet, from the iPhone, where you never get away from your device. That
Yes.
you're always looking at it, and
Yes.
you can't. People are having a hard time driving without it.
Yes.
So now everything is taking us to the divine, even the movement away from it into
Yeah.
to silence and being
Amazing.
by
Yes.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And something that I feel is that when we do go where we're going to be, which is a conscious being, that we're not going to just be affected by the sun, but we're going to be creating the sun, creating everything according to that
Yes.
consciousness.
Yes. Conscious co-creation.
Yeah.
Yes. And all of these devices that can distract us on the opposite side of that distraction is it's showing us other abilities. All the new smartphones have these heart meters built into them, right? And the photodiodes are so sensitive that you can put duct tape, a couple layers of duct tape over the photodiode, and there's apps that can show you your energy field, because those photodiodes can measure your energy field. So apps are going to come out now to show our energy field, the biophoton field, but also where our heart is. So our phones, well, hopefully people are making apps like this already, but the phone will start alerting you, you are stressed out, you should relax. You know? It's like of course, there's gonna be some apps.
Like relax.
So, like, somebody got to make that app.
You're having
Actually, I
too
have a
much
friend
fun.
that can make it. Yeah. So there's always something else on the other side.
But on the other side is also silence and oneness.
Stillness.
Stillness, yeah. Getting away from all of it.
That's right.
And finding that you have it all without it.
That's right.
You don't need any of it.
That's right.
But we're not
Yeah.
there. The pendulum, he swings, so now everybody's doing too much of it. they're all looking into this little thing, and then it will
The quickening.
find its middle at some point, but we're in the phase where
So,
it's too much. I
Yeah.
see what you're saying, and stillness is at the other end, but a balance will be achieved
That's it.
eventually.
Time.
yes.
Yeah, time.
So it's a time of chaotic speeding up.
Yeah.
And so it's speeding up everything. And people are waking up too, and they're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And you look down the rabbit hole, and suddenly you're seeing so much more. But then the pendulum swings, and you bring in your shadow, and you're starting to tell Dick Cheney and want to kill him and stuff. but he's just, again, you're going down the rabbit hole. He's a reflection of you.
Yeah.
So then you have to own that so that you can go to the next level.
I think the Taurus explains that too, because it's expansion and contraction that
Expansion
makes
and contraction.
the Taurus.
That's right.
That's why there's this hole in the middle, because
Yes.
it wants to go and it's
That's-
got this, and that's what makes,
That's
and that's
right.
our shadow and our light, and there's no one
Yeah.
without the other.
If you look at that toroidal field from the North Pole down, it's a yin and yang symbol.
Yeah.
Like you see the yin and yang, which is basically the same thing as being in one with opposites, right? To be in that axis mundi, the eye, right in the center, eye of the storm, exactly. And we all can be in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, really, your brain starts going like that.
So-
You're in trouble.
So in the Earth, all these storms are happening. We've got galactic storms now. So if anybody's aware of it, who's been paying attention to astronomy, we're looking at the outer planets. The outer planets are more outside of the field of the sun, and they're more affected by the galactic field. So you can actually see that the Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, those gas giants have their own geometry, they're their own suns. 80% of their energy is coming from outside the solar system. Only 20% comes from our sun. So they're tuned in with the galactic storm. Their energy fields have increased in the last 10 years. I think at least 10 times they were giving up 10 times more energy than they were 10 years ago, because they're experiencing this galactic storm. So yeah, we're in a galactic storm too, which means there's more energy. So that big tornado is like, whoa, but that's an opportunity to get inside the eye of that storm and become tuned in. It'll spit you out or it'll tune you in.
Brain is yin and yang. It's left side, right side. Your whole, it's what it's,
The
it's
brain-
how the
the
universe
brain-
works. It's how the universe works. Nothing's really ever at a standstill. As much as you are, everything else is moving around you.
So anyway, I didn't want to dominate the conversation. I'm really good at doing that.
That's okay. No, we're sharing. You're not dominating.
No, but
we're just passing the puck back.
Totally,
and forth, buddy.
I'm the presenter. I'm supposed to like give this linear download or whatever, but it doesn't work like that.
So then, really, the storm's out here, right? So it's not in here, right? So you're in the eye of the storm.
But I know a lot of stuff is coming up
It's not here.
for people,
The storm's out there, right?
so I'm just curious what.
You sell yourself. And
I want to know what other people are feeling right now.
Well, I talked a while ago about energy psychology, which is something that I do as a psychologist. And when I was learning about that from Dr. Roger Callahan, we had one of those sensors that we put on our thumb, and I volunteered to be an example. And they had a creation which was a graph that they put on a visual with a little box in the center,
Yeah.
and the box represented balance. I looked terrible. I was way down in the corner when they did the first assessment.
Yeah.
I have MS, and that's why I volunteered. And
Yeah.
anyway, I was surprised that anyway, I did the energy work a few times, and was amazing. Like my heart rate represented out getting right in balance
That's
after
right.
a very short while.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, so that's was my experience.
When we
with
can
it.
see our heart rate, and it's not just our heart beats.
Yes.
I mean, it'll show you your heartbeat, but what it's using is an algorithm to match heartbeat to the previous heartbeats, and you can see they call that the coherence. So how perfect is your heartbeat in its natural vibration? And you can see when you're looking at this graph, you're breathing, suddenly a fear thought comes up, and you watch your score go down. So you have to get your score up by being in tune.
Detached.
Detached, yeah, you're not attached. So, exactly.
Yeah.
detached from all thoughts that could take you off your balance.
The way of Tao.
The way of Tao, and you can. It's really neat that we can use technologies that show us that.
And I think it's really nice what you shared to show us that it doesn't take years of healing. We can really do it in a moment.
That's right.
And
our
then
breathing
relapse and then
and
redo it
yes.
until we build a deep enough groove that we can hang in there. Yeah.
So there are technology devices for
Recognize
us.
the place.
Yeah.
Psychology has a phenomenon they name entrainment, and this came about by a clockmaker with pendulum clocks, and he left the night before, and the pendulums were all going every which way and so forth. And he came back the next morning, and they were all
Wow.
perfectly in sync with one another.
Wow.
And this can be achieved, according to the people that I worked with in Africa, through music, of bringing a natural rhythm to a community where they can experience this entrainment, where after so long in the ritual, why the heart rate becomes at one, the breathing rates become, the digestive systems all create a harmonic society with this.
This is the thing, and
Which,
that's,
and you know, I mean, that's ancient.
it's ancient.
Yeah.
Sound healing is ancient, and music, the didgeridoo and the jaw harp and all these gongs and instruments that we have so put us in tune. It's amazing. So we have, sure, we can do this through meditation, but we're fragmented beings, we believe we are, with all these different levels of need. So it's good to use the tools. And so one of the tools is sound healing. We have aromatherapy. We have these pendulums that are tuned with the sun that David Sereda makes, right? And people that I know that have worn those, it's completely changed their life. So we have these tools, so don't be afraid to use the tool. And actually, you had one of those devices.
Yeah, I had
and I remember you saying, I feel so good. So you don't need to wear it anymore, or do you?
I don't wear it anymore, no.
Yeah, because you wear it, it's a medicine. You don't need to keep, maybe it's too much even sometimes.
No, it raised my vibration, and then once I got to that vibration, I didn't need it on.
That's it.
Well, self-generating energy.
Well, that's right. That's an example of how a tool serves a purpose, and then you don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to use tools, and crystals are another, obviously, very important. And we look at the Platonic solids. Anything that's in a Platonic solid gets access to energy from the universe. So all of the forms we see in nature that are the rocks and crystalline forms always form into those 5 Platonic solids. And being in that phase, the Earth has all of these inside of it as well. If you look at the star tetrahedron, that fits in, if you put that inside of a sphere, all spheres with this star tetrahedron putting inside, you have that 47-degree angle inside the sphere. That's where all the major volcanoes show up. That's where the biggest sunspots. If you look at the sun, all the sunspots like to go up on these lines on the northern and southern hemisphere in this area, this special area where the most major sacred sites on Earth are on these points. And there's another one where you have the dodecahedron and the icosahedron. This one's really important because Easter Island, Tiwanaku, the Giza Pyramid, Stonehenge, these fit right onto those points. And it's not a coincidence, it's because the people who built those knew about where the energy points intersect, enhances energy. So this is just nature. It doesn't have to be anything else spooky or hokey dokey or whatever. This is just physics, right? There's
Geometry. It's just geometry.
Richard likes this one. Richard could talk about that one for hours. This is
What is it?
Ribis. It's one of the sacred symbols of alchemy that represents being in tune with the opposites, and the feminine, the masculine, 4 and 3, and then slaying the dragon by metaphor. And Richard could say a lot more about it, but he's like holding back.
Gotta stay in my seat.
This is a very strong crystalline form that represents the human body, what's called the tree of life, but it fits inside the seed of life. And the flower of life, everybody knows what the flower of life looks like? I don't know if I have it. That's sort of like it, but the flower of life has got all those circles, but the flower of life represents the form that can, well, that can represent all of the different sacred geometric shapes. Now, I would love to spend a whole, like, 3 hours just talking about the free energy inventors, like Nikola Tesla, like T. Townsend Brown, Walter Russell, John Keeley. It's amazing. I've got a list of about 20 free energy inventors that one thing that they have in common, I'll just say, is that they use these fields that are outside of normal understanding of physics. A lot of them use water, they produce anti-gravity, they produce healing effects. They're all tuned into very specific sacred frequencies. The guy Stan Myers, who built the water-powered car back in the 80s and the 90s, he just figured out specific frequencies, and he had a toroidal generator that would release hydrogen and oxygen from water, and that he just simply took and put into the combustion chamber and was able to power vehicles off of water. But now there's these water-powered cars all over the world. Go on the internet, they're there, and people are in disbelief. They're like, I can't believe it. So this is the shadow. Free energy is already there, but a lot of us don't want to believe it because there's such a long body, a momentum of the shadow. Still, people are like, people have this scarcity belief that they inherit from ancestral. It's like an ancestral thing.
It's also suppressed by the government, so
Yes.
mainstream
Yes.
doesn't know about it.
And the corporations.
Corporations.
This suppressed by the government is the shadow.
Profits.
That's our shadow.
Are the government.
Well, I love to talk about it. There's another side that's really important to note, that when Nikola Tesla first discovered the ways of tapping into this field and producing incredible, unlimited amounts of energy, it was being harnessed. There were legitimate people at the time that were terrified that it would get into the wrong hands. And this is legitimate because we were in such a shadow time, a dark age, that if the wrong people got a hold of it, then certainly it could be used to make plasma weapons. So there was also forces that you could see them as divine forces that weren't allowing that synchronicity for that technology to be manifested yet.
Yeah.
So there's the conspiracy side, but there's also the side of our spiritual readiness, that we weren't spiritually ready for the technology. But our spiritual readiness will line up at the time, and it will reveal itself when we're ready.
Right.
I heard the Illuminati, that's the most beautiful thing I heard about them, that
The
they
Illuminati?
were doing that for us, repressing, because we weren't ready.
Well, this is the other side of it too, is that the spiritual purpose of the dark, big
Supposedly
Men in
dark.
Black, supposedly dark Men in Black, Illuminati. They are there to bring out the negative, the dark side, in order for us to face the shadow. Like Carl Jung said,
Go through it.
No
it's like you
growth
gotta go
without
through it.
conflict.
What's this?
No growth without
No
conflict.
growth without conflict. So then let's not all jump on top and kill the Illuminati. Let's honor what their purpose is there for.
Yeah.
Then we're not going to be controlled by it. Then we're not going to be afraid of the big brother. But that again is also free energy, is like being in tune with the shadow, not being afraid of the shadow, right? That's right.
What you're saying is kind of like Einstein, who would never have wanted to invent something that could have wiped out all of creation, but because
That's right.
humanity wasn't ready to understand
Yeah.
how to use it.
Yeah, Einstein, he regretted,
Yeah.
developing the technology that showed how you can create a nuclear or thermonuclear explosion. So he regretted it. But at the same time, it was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen.
Yeah, but it didn't want to get it in the hands of Nazi Germany. So
But it needed to be in the hands of Nazi Germany, so we did those awful things, so we saw what we
Right.
can do, and because otherwise
That's
we'd
right.
still
this
maybe be
this
thinking we're angel.
this is a big, yeah, exactly. This is really big because we could
Yeah.
talk forever.
Keep our
about it.
egos down.
Yeah. Any comments about that?
Pun intended.
Yeah. Now there was books written in the late 1800s about the Earth energy grids. So somebody had discovered, he looked at all the points, all the sacred sites around the world, and just discovered that they all line up into a sacred shape. And so he found these places, like Easter Island in Hawaii.
Who was he?
I don't remember his name, but he wrote a book called the Earth Grid. A lot of people, Nelson, has this book. What's the name of the book? But you know, all these
Yeah.
Nelsonites have this book.
Yeah.
Well, I see it.
Ley
I see-
lines and stuff?
Yeah, it's about the ley lines and stuff.
We should go to
there's an
Nelson and
interesting
ask
one
them.
in Nelson, huh, the ley line.
Yeah, let's visit Nelson and ask somebody.
Yeah, you should go to Nelson. We should go to Nelson and just interview people and see, because they know all the crazy things.
Where are they? Baker Street?
Just go down Baker Street. Yeah.
It's Baker Street or Leyland.
The waterfall.
You know what? Just like the major chakras, we have we have meridians and minor meridians that are symbolic of all of these ley lines. Again, a fractal set. Right.
Nice picture.
Yeah, these are just random pictures. I just thought they were cool.
They are.
It might bring up something.
Say about Sirius, do you have something you could say about Sirius?
Well-
The Palladian, the 5 more minutes. Okay. All right.
So that's a good question, the Palladians and the Syrians. When, at a certain point, people who are tuned in feel like if you're really in this super tuned state, you start meeting beings. Some people start meeting beings from other dimensions, and they remember them. This has happened to me, I have to admit it. You meet beings from another dimension, and they're I meet these highly evolved beings when I'm in the right state of mind. And I've learned through talking to other people that some of them are like Palladian beings, some of them are Syrian beings, some of them are Hathors. Very interesting. So yeah, we all have the idea of galactic heritage, and tuning into that, a lot of these highly evolved beings are like our future selves. They don't have to be separate from us. They are us. When you're in tune with them, you remember them. They're not separate from you. You are them. So I guess that's what I can say about these beings. And some of them, like the Arcturians, have harvested, they found ways of creating crystalline body structures that tap into the field. And so we all can do that. Yeah.
I mean, okay, I don't want to complicate it too much with the
No.
time, but I can't come into this without thinking about the Matrix, right?
Right.
And that's like, so like,
Matrix, yeah.
how do we step out, because I think that is actually a metaphor for what's happening in the
Mhm.
world, and so how do we step out of that so that we're not in one of those things having the energy sucked out of it? But
Right. Well, when we step outside of the matrix, in that sense,
What is the matrix anyway?
I was
The-
just
well,
gonna say, you need to
we could
explain
call-
for people who haven't
so
seen the movie.
the matrix is like another ideal. It has different names. The Veil of Lucifer. So there's these different names for this, which is basically the world of layered. What's another word for that? It's basically the collective consciousness. There's a certain collective consciousness. If you go to you look at anthropologists who have studied other tribes, they say that it looks like they have a different level of physics. When you see the Haitian voodoo or whatever putting swords and then you heal instantly, and they've proven this scientifically, other cultures do that too, where you can have instant healing, they're inside of a different field.
Yeah.
So their collective consciousness, their belief systems create a different matrix in that sense. And we have a general matrix in the Western consciousness. and
It's letting go is what it is.
if you don't if you don't take ownership, then you're giving your power away to other people's beliefs of the lower vibration matrix. When you step outside of that matrix, there is another challenge that some people have, which is a metaphor is of Men in Black, the people that are trying to this is interesting because the matrix, that comes from another older story. Men in Black is an old idea, right? And the Men in Black are the gatekeepers, the sheepdog or whatever, to try and keep people in line. So some people get challenged by these dark forces to put them back in the matrix. Some people don't experience that at all. But what that Men in Black is just showing another side of your shadow that you haven't faced, right? So that's what I got to say about those people.
That's what the shadow is, right? The shadow is exactly what you're talking about, right? Because you hold on to your own perception of reality based on your own fear-based motivation, right? So it's how you perceive your conscious reality and how you look truthfully, honestly on yourself at your shadow, right?
But it's true, I mean, it's your problems and that kind of stuff.
And sometimes the truth is too much for people to bear. It's not the darkness that people are afraid of, it's the light. Because they're comfortable behind the shadow because it protects them from the big bad wolf.
From the unknown.
Yeah, from the unknown.
And,
See, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. See, they couldn't put them back together again because they didn't know themselves, because you have to be a king to heal yourself. That's the answer to that riddle, right? Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. It's your egg. It's your golden egg. It's your 19, right? Square root of 19, sorry, square root of 361, yeah, is 19, which is egg, EGG, is 19. It's always represented the universe since the beginning of recorded history, the number 19. And EGG, numerology-wise, is egg.
So there's so many roadmaps.
This whole thing is you're fixing your egg. You're fixing, you're taking charge of your shadows, and it's a journey through paradoxes that you don't even know about, I believe. Most of you don't know about.
So this is interesting. All these signposts are everywhere. When we're in tune, we'll see them. They're, you'll be in that fourth density, the Isle of Silk. You'll be there. When you're in that tuned in state, suddenly everything is reflecting higher truth to you, right? And anybody can be there.
Depending which frequency we generate, then we access different materials.
Yeah, we're changing our lens. We're changing our looking goggles.
And there is no wrong, right? Things only get better.
And since another thing about the shadow is that it doesn't only hold what we perceive as negative, it's things that are unripe.
Yeah. Well, that's your
Right,
perception
unripe.
too.
Well, that's
Your
right.
growth, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're
'Cause
not
still
ready.
growing. You're still
You don't have to
growing.
be
You're
ready.
still-
Right.
That's right. You're still,
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thus,
But-
that's the grace of being in this dimension,
Yeah.
is that we're given time in order to
You know,
progress.
there are no shadows. When
Right.
there's nothing but
To
light,
ripen.
when there's nothing
This
but
is
light,
the
there is
whole-
no shadow.
School.
Yeah, school of conflict.
School of
Growth,
conflict.
no growth without conflict.
That's right. And it's a
I'm
beautiful
gonna
thing,
try.
but unless we get trapped in it.
Right.
Yes, is it? Yeah.
And then we plug into the free energy.
Spy.
Then we plug into the free
I
energy.
have
Right,
to practice my,
Well, that's right. We're not.
Practice.
So it's funny because see, now I'm going to start my presentation. Are you ready? I just opened it up.
Ready?
Yeah. Well, that's okay because I could talk about all these different, like Stanley Myers, John Searle. Oh my God.
With magnet.
Well, John Searle used magnets, but he used sympathetic vibratory resonance to tap into the chaotic field to structure it. Because it's amazing how many, all of these ancient quantum physicists who just discovered quantum physics, like Einstein, Max Planck, they're saying there's like an infinite energy in the background. It's incredible how much energy is 1 cubic centimeter of matter. It's ridiculous. But it's how do you tune into it? You tune into it through resonance, through sacred geometry, through coherence, through harmonics, through love, through sympathy, through qigong. So all of these ways are ways of tapping into free energy. It doesn't have to be on the physical level. It can be on the spiritual level, on the body level.
Dan, would you
Yeah.
like to do that presentation? Because
Yeah, I
Anne
would like
said that
to.
she needs a speaker for the 25th.
Yeah,
And so if you want to just continue.
I would love to, because if we start talking, we talk about Victor Schulberger. Oh my God, that guy! Whoa,
Schauberger.
Victor Schulberger.
I just
Does
got the
anybody know?
speaker.
I do.
This guy's
I know.
amazing. Like he discovered so many things about water,
About
free
water.
energy and water and levitation.
Levitation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like half these guys made their own UFOs, anti-gravity.
Yes.
So I mean, the UFOs are like a byproduct. It's quite amazing. So I'll just finish my presentation. Just
Yeah,
saying.
we know
I think I've concluded it already.
What do you mean by these guys made their own UFOs?
They did.
Yeah.
Schauberger did.
Okay, well let's
With
talk
Liv.
about. Okay, well John Searle back in the 50s, he figured out when he was a little kid he got these dreams, and his dreams told him how to build this device, and his dad beat the crap out of him, unfortunately, but he ended up in an orphanage, but the orphanage was all women, he was the only guy, so he started thinking in a very different way, and he had these dreams and he built these devices.
Which broke the roof.
Well, when he was 14 years old, the first device he built with these rotating magnets, he put it inside of this thing and it created this chain reaction because he learned how to tune into all the zones of the natural magnetic field. There's 8 zones, 8 colors within that electromagnetic spectrum that he figured out, tuned into it just by carefully crafting magnets that are tuned to those 8 zones in a cylinder, all different 8 zones. Each cylinder in another cylinder created a chain reaction where it built its own field.
Forever.
It goes to infinity, and then the thing, once it creates this field, it loses its mass. This is mass cancellation is a common phenomenon when you're working with this type of technology, right? I mean, some of these guys, T. Thompson Brown, a lot of Nikola Tesla, all these guys, it's like this anti-gravity thing was a byproduct. So yeah, so when he was 14, his thing hit the roof and it got stuck on the roof. He went to go touch it. It was super cold because the cold field was a byproduct of the way that the thing worked. So by the time he was in his 20s, he started building these UFOs that would just go up. And this really wealthy priest took him under his wing, and nobody believed him. Everybody thought he was a freak. But this wealthy priest says, this is an amazing story if you go on the internet and look up this documentary of his life history. But the priest says, here's all the money you want. Build more of these things. It's making people look up. People aren't looking up. Make them look up. Right? And then I guess he was in his 30s or something, and he figured out that he could use ham radio receivers to dampen the coils, to stop them so that the thing would come down and turn. So then he was able to certainly move these. They looked like UFOs. It was the perfect shape.
They're flying saucers.
Flying saucers, right? So
Same with Schauberger. And he got kidnapped by the German.
I thought that's who we were talking about. Who?
Oh, I'm not talking
Surly.
I'm talking about John Searle.
Oh.
So John Searle, and in England at that time, people were seeing these UFOs all in the papers. All
But
these UFOs.
Schauberger too, UFO flying
Oh, yeah.
saucer,
Yeah.
kidnapped by the German because they wanted that part.
Oh.
Their technology. Quite interesting story.
You'll get a national security order slapped on you if you're trying you're trying to. This is what's amazing is that a lot of these people are being spied on. These give out magnetic fields that can be picked up by spy satellites, and they know where they're using these technologies. I know years ago, Erica was talking about somebody in Winlaw who had built one of these, and then the FBI shows up, right? Why does the FBI come here? So you obviously. This is why it's good to be in the age of the transparency.
Yeah.
Everything has to be done in the limelight. Everything has to be streamed directly on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's how these people are succeeding now.
And not being killed because everybody
No,
knows.
because it's transparent.
that-
It's like you
yeah.
can't, you're already open.
You can't kill us all.
Exactly.
No.
It's time to.
So let's all tap into our free
Yeah,
energy
it's the
fields,
beginning of
guys.
a new
Here we go.
Talking about a revolution.
of the mind.
So you see everything is connected.
Did
Yeah.
you say revolution or resolution?
Yes,
Same thing.
revolution,
Sort of like that.
resolution, revolution.
That could be right.
That was a good one, Dan.
But let's talk more about some of these people. It's just amazing stuff that it'll come up in the talk. Thanks, guys.
I Google all of them and check them out.
Yeah, we need.
I've made a big list, and
Yeah.
I've written a lot about each of these inventors,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they got to put it online.
Okay,
I could put it on the Unity website too.
that would be good.
That would be good.
Okay, I'll start while the box is going around.